This video is about the 72-hour bag, or the get home bag, or emergency 3-day pack, whatever you want to call it. It's designed to last you for 72 hours, like FEMA and all of those people recommend. So it's mostly designed just to get you to your next safe location, whether it's home, a rendezvous point, maybe a cache if you have one. It could be a storm shelter, or another safe area where maybe you have a group of people to meet up with. So all the things that you would need is going to be in this pack that I got on. And I'm going to go through each part individually. I'm going to just break down the pack, take it all apart, and I'll probably have some follow-on videos with additional sections that I'll discuss, communications and planning, and some other sections that will need to be elaborated on a little more in depth at a later time. So when I get down to the river, I'll come back on and give you the rest of the video. Okay, here I am down by the river in Austin, Texas. I don't know if you just heard the sirens go by, so I'm not really that far from the city, believe it or not. But this is a nice little spot I found, and I'm just going to look for a place here along the river where I can break out my kit and show it to you. Okay, I'll come back on in just a moment. Okay, so this spot's as good as any, so I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you about the bag. First thing, one of the things I really like to have is this shamag that I got in Afghanistan years ago. Not saying you need it, but if you wanted to use it as a face mask, there you go. But I'm just going to use it to cushion my knee on this hard limestone. Okay, so first of all, you want to consider what your regional environment is. What state do you live in? Are you in a desert, mountains, or prairie, woodland environment? What are the most likely problems you face? Is your government going to set up checkpoints and take away your rights, restrict your movements? You also got to figure out what kind of environment you have, as far as, are you in a rural environment or an urban environment? Those are going to, change your priorities and the type of stuff you got to carry, and probably the kind of bag you're going to carry, and a lot of other things. Also, the time of year. In a place like Texas, it doesn't, the environment doesn't change too much. California is the same way, but obviously you live in a northern land like Maine or Minnesota or someplace like that, you're going to have completely different priorities for what you're going to have in a bag like this. Of course, it's going to be a lot bigger in a winter environment. Now, you also have to figure out whatever unique circumstances there are. Do you need medications, things like that? So you want to have some extra meds in here, things like that. If you have kids, you probably want to put together a little kit like this for the kids. They can carry their own food and water at least. Some small things you'd have to figure out. That might be a future video topic, but not today. So first, let me get into what the kit actually, what is actually in this bag. I'm just gonna start on the outside. Most important things right up front. Okay, I got my light. It's dark out. I need to see what the heck's going on. I've always got my light right there in the front. Got a red lens. Got a white lens. To go right on my right on my hat. So that's kind of a priority. I also have rechargeable batteries in there because you never know. You have the ability to recharge them, you want to do that. The second compartment here, this is what I would call my emergency compartment, my emergency comms compartment, whatever you want to call it. Get a little bit closer. So you can see here, I have it's a you know, this is a ham radio that I have an extra antenna right here that I attach to it. I have an extra battery. I have a couple other little things that I would use in conjunction with it. But to start off with, I also have right here wire pull smoke grenades. So take the cap off, you got a little pull right here. You get these at a lot of paint, airsoft, paintball players will use these things a lot. Works just like a regular military smoke grenade. Probably not quite as much capacity, but it does have good burn time. I think a minute and a half or something like that. Comes in many different colors, so you can also use the different colors to communicate with people, with friendlies, and you can also use it to mask your movements, or say if you're taking somebody's taking pot shots at you from far away, you could drop a couple smokes to obscure your area while you get the hell out of there. So a lot of uses. I think it's really important. I also have it into a kit that would just come straight out like that, and I can strap that on my belt, or I can strap that into to whatever I want. If I had some tactical kit that I could have, I could stick it on there as well. Again, also we have chem lights. You know how these work. Can't really see it. That's all you do is you break it, and you can see it starting to glow. So these are excellent for signaling as well. One of the other things you can do is you can tie it on the end of a cord, a long cord, and you can twirl it in a circle, and it'll make a big round, you know, red circle that can be spotted a mile away for any kind of aircraft or anybody like that. So if you're trying to draw attention or, you know, signal to somebody, excellent device for that. They also have an 8-hour burn time. I have something else further inside the kit that I'm going to show you that actually it's a little sheath that goes over this that's kind of cool that you can adjust it, so if you wanted to have more or less light, it's something that kind of specifically designed for the military, but you can get them for 10 or 11 bucks on Amazon, and I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so this is sort of like I said, my little signal panel. I got all my emergency stuff. I also have an emergency fire starter right here on the front. You may have seen these guys advertised. Great stuff. I'll probably demonstrate this at another time. Okay, so that's my first little compartment. That's my emergency compartment. Now you have a compartment right below that is an intermediate compartment, which is actually designed for, it's got Velcro, so you could put in a holster here if you had a sidearm. It's ambidextrous, it opens from either side, so you have access to it. A lot of bags do this. You know, this is a cool bag, but it's pretty expensive. It's $5.11. Covert 18, I believe it's called. Now, you could, you know, position the holster any way you want, extra magazines, whatever you need. That's what it's made for. I don't have a gun in there today, but what I do have in here is the rest of my planning kit. So I start talking about the important things that you need for the emergency section, but I have a separate comm section which actually have all my communications plans. I have other things in here. So this is a tactical radio cordage that I would put in my ear so I can actually have the radio on with my clothes on, and nobody really even know I had a radio, and all I could do is a little push to talk button. So the years I did security, I always wore those things underneath my uniform or whatever, and you could just push a button and nobody would even know you're talking to somebody else, but you know, you could have help on the way. And most people don't even know you have it in your ear unless they're really close to you on there. I have a good waterproof bag. You know, this could hang on your neck. You could do whatever you want with this. So any of your extra electronics or batteries or anything like that you'd want to carry, it's a great place to put them. Like I said, the little little earpiece goes in. Okay, so protractor for your maps. You know, I have these maps are excellent. I'll put the link on for you guys. You can get them from Nat Geo. Free maps of your area for download. Gives you pretty good little maps. They're more detailed than the emergency survival chart that I make, but they don't cover as nearly as big an area. So you would have to have a whole notebook of these to cover. I mean, I'm talking a big notebook to cover the area that my ESC covers. Okay, so before I get into this, I'm gonna talk one more thing here. Now this is a Faraday bag, so it's, I don't know what the hell it's made out of, but it's some sort of a metallic type of thing. Any important information, hard drive, you can put all the kind of information you need. You can have any of your personal information, IDs, copies of certificates, licenses, all that kind of stuff. You definitely keep in something like this for safekeeping. I recommend keeping it in one of these bags. That way, if there is something major like an EMP or a CME, which basically a solar flare or an electronic attack, we short out all of our computers and everything. You lose everything if you had a Faraday cage. A bag of these blackout Faraday shields. I've got a couple little ones, a couple big ones, so I can put my laptop in there. I can put anything I wanted in a big Faraday bag like that, and keep it protected theoretically. Okay. Of course, I've talked about my emergency survival chart many times on other videos. I'm not going to get too in detail about it, but it's designed sort of like a bag where your most important things are up front. So right here, you open it, you're going to have, okay, emergency action plan. What are you going to do in case of emergency? The next steps. Are you going to shelter in place? There's a section about shelter in place. And if you're going to evacuate, and what your recommendations, what areas you're in, specific to your environment. So these would be specific. This one's specific to Austin, where I am right now. It also goes down to San Antonio and the other surrounding areas. Of course, you go on to the next section, all kinds of planning information that you might need, planning formulas, distance, speed, and time formulas, some basic navigation and military type patrolling things. It's not any specific tactics, but it's more of common sense things that, well, may not be common sense to the average civilian, but anybody who's been in any kind of combat arms would know it's pretty much common sense. But that stuff's on here for people who don't know about it. Of course, there's some more advanced stuff like evading trackers and some other stuff that's kind of interesting and cool to have. And then, of course, the table of contents. On the back side, I have all my emergency medical stuff. So if you had anything you could think of, from a blister to a snake bite to gunshot wound, it is specifically talked about on here. And then, of course, building fire, and then a signal panel that could be used as an identifier to somebody, to show them who you are, friend or foe, type of thing. Okay. Now, I do have another little smaller section here, which is sort of where I keep a lot of my everyday stuff. But this is an attachment from a water bladder, which I'll get into later. And then this is what they call a Silcot tool. It's very cool. Since I'm in an urban environment, these little keys, I don't know how well you can see it, but it can be used. This little key right here, it can be used for all types of things, for municipal water supplies, electrical cabinets, all kinds of different things that most people don't typically have devices like this for. Also has little screwdriver attachments, and for $8 on Amazon, I think it's a pretty good investment. Filter out shake compartment. Okay. Well, you can see all that. Okay, so first aid kit. This isn't a real advanced IFAC or emergency first aid kit that the military would issue you. This is more of a boo-boo kit, so that's what I call it. It does have your basic painkillers. I do have a tourniquet on there because I had a tourniquet and I figured it wouldn't hurt to have it there, easily accessible, highly visible as soon as you open the compartment. And then I just have, like I said, basic things in here that you need. A couple little things that are important. I do have a couple disposable thermometers, some chapsticks, some antacid, painkillers. Put some more water purification tablets in there just so it's easy to find. A little bit of a, pain and itch relief, painkiller. Some of this stuff is really cool, I think, is just some black athletic tape. You can use that if you had to build a splint and just wrap your arm. Plus it's black, it's not going to be as visible as a white bandage. If you had any kind of major injuries, you can stuff it with this and then wrap it with the black until you're able to get to a better place. Some triple antibiotic ointment. You got any blisters or anything like that might be getting infected? Keep that kind of stuff on them. Another thing that people don't think about is something you can get that they actually use in ERs is super glue. So you can use that in little stitches or a lot of cuts, and that's a very common practice. But it's not going to cost $500 like it does in an emergency room. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, also very, very useful. The more uses something has, the more valuable it is. A knife can be used for all kinds of things. It can be used to build a shelter, it can be used to build a fire, it can be used to clean an animal or process some meat or whatever. It can also be used as a weapon. So that's why I think a knife is so important. More important than maybe a hatchet or a camp saw or something. As long as you get a good bushcraft knife, which I'll get into that in a moment. That's in the next bag here. But this is a multi-use, excellent piece of gear because it's just a regular GI rain poncho, military issue type thing. This one's multicam. You can use it for all kinds of things, everything from a shelter, a rain shelter. You can obviously use it to camouflage yourself. I could take this whole thing out. It's got a hood on it, so I could put the hood through my head through the hood, and I could drape it over my bag, my whole body, and my whole body would be camouflaged. And I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. Of course, it's not going to be really comfortable, and it's mostly made for rainy environments and to keep you dry in the rain, which is the one thing it doesn't really do. You could use it to carry. You could use an emergency stretcher if you had to carry someone. There's a lot of other uses that I'll put on there when I discuss the product. Some other things I'm forgetting, but similar to the ESC, it has a lot of uses for something heavy-duty, flat, large material like that. Now, little bungee cords, tactical bungees. Things are great. All this cordage that I talk about is great, but you got to be able to tie knots and tighten them and do things like that. You got to know how to do those things. I do talk about how to tie knots on the emergency survival chart, but you're still going to have to practice with it until you know how to do it. These things don't require anything. I mean, you have a couple grommets. I'm thinking about putting grommets on the emergency survival chart, but it would just be right there in the corner, and you could set up a shelter in less than a minute. Same thing with the poncho liner that I showed you, or excuse me, the poncho, the rain poncho. You hook that, go around a tree with some little elastic, bungees, and very quick and easy way to set up a shelter. Another thing is your sleeping kit. This is so small that I think it's a good option, but an emergency blanket would work just fine. And to be honest, in an environment like this, where I am right now, it's warm enough, and we're starting to head into summer that you really wouldn't need a lot of sleeping gear, and I would probably load up more on some extra water. Of course, we don't really need that right now either, but it'll be really dry here in a couple months, and this will probably be dried up. So okay, like I said, an emergency sleeping bag. This one's made by Titan Survival. They make some really good stuff, and I believe it's Mylar. Same thing, camouflage type of thing, and it's reusable. So get a little bag, sleeping bag like that. Pretty cool. Extra clothing. Okay, I got an extra pair of pants there. They actually zip down the legs, so I can take the legs off and make them into shorts. I sort of just took them, put them in regular Ziploc bags, and I squeezed them on the bed and kind of give them a little vacuum seal, get out some of the air, and they seal pretty tight. Polypropylene, I always recommend having some polypropylene. Will keep you dry no matter what. You never know if you're going to get wet and get chilled, and you have cotton. Cotton kills, is what they say. So if you're wearing cotton for too long, it's just going to suck the heat out of you if it's wet. Polypropylene, on the other hand, will keep you warm anyway and insulate. And the other thing, silk will do the same thing, and wool. But I wouldn't recommend wearing wool directly against your skin. some wool blend socks, merino wool, or some just different synthetics, or there's some excellent stuff out there too. But I always stick with the polypropylene, and the wool and the silk is my personal preferences. Okay. Food source. This stuff's excellent. I think they've relabeled it now. They got a little better looking bottle, but this is a 15-day food supply. So I can't tell you how valuable that is in this tiny little package. You got the little bag that comes with it, so if you want to transfer these pills into the bag and stuff them in a pocket, you could do that. But you would also have this bottle that you could use for carrying water or whatever, which could be a real important thing. You never know when you're going to come across water again if you're trying to travel a long distance on foot. And a lot of times your plan is just going to be to get from one water source to the next water source along your way, so you can resupply. So one or two of these in your kit, food's taken care of. However, I do have another kit that I'm going to show you. There's another option for food, and probably better for the long term, because as good as this is, it's still only going to last you, a month tops. So anything else you have, or especially boiling water, that's going to be in this other kit. So I might as well get right into this. This is basically I call it my mess kit or whatever, but this one's stuffed with food. So I have another couple, easily a few days worth of food on here. This is way more food than I would need for 72 hours. Typically, to be honest, you don't really need any food for 72 hours. But I figured some of you guys would probably want to have food, so you can get these little things, these little packets at the store. They're, you're gonna have food, whatever you want. Some more fire starter, another lighter. Just keeping that stuff on the outer pocket. And then I go in here. This is just something that's kind of cool. It's a little lantern with a beeswax candle, and you can hang that in the tent or whatever if you wanted to, and light that. And that thing will last for 8 hours. So if you needed a candle, and you could actually have read, and you can read by it and stuff like that if you needed to. Of course, it wouldn't be recommended if you're in an environment where you're trying to keep from being detected. But for just your normal everyday usage, it's kind of a cool little piece of kit to have, and I've liked it. The 32-ounce bottle. Now I did a whole other video on this, so I'm not going to get into all this stuff, but one thing I did do here is I got these little rice servings, okay? So I think this is 2 servings of rice, but so all I would need to do is grab this little bag here, and one of these, and that's my 32 ounces, and that's the perfect ratio for the rice to the water, and really easy to cook on this with the stove that comes with the kit. So there you go. You got your container, and you put the rice and stuff in, and then you have your little rocket stove, which is not as fancy as it sounds. It's just a really cool design. You can actually make these in nature as well, but all they are is, you could do this with a can. If you had a can of beans or something, you could just cut the bottom of it out like this and poke some holes in the top of it, and then you could just stuff leaves and stuff inside here, and it'll burn. The flame will build a really nice high flame because it keeps all that heat confined in a small little area. It gets super hot, and there's enough air going in there that it blows right through, and rocket stove, that's what I call them. Okay, so that's pretty much my little mess kit. I'm going to go into the little survival kit, which this is basically got my ESC, then another ESC for the other area. This is the kind of kit that you could have in your backpack or whatever without any of the other stuff. You could technically survive with just this small little kit. But you won't have a water container, so you'd have to be near a source of water like this, and this would require you to actually get down and put your face down there in the water, and everybody knows about a life straw. It's still a great product, but it doesn't compare to this, in my opinion. Okay, another thing, like I said, the knife. I talked about this in another video as well. It looks kind of crappy, but it's actually been coated with some beeswax to keep it from rusting. So that's why it looks as bad as it does. Fire starter, sharpener. The other thing I like about it is a very small knife, but it's very, I mean, you could chop down a tree with it. It's an excellent knife. You gotta have something to write all your information down on, whatever it's gonna be, your emergency frequencies, coordinates, call signs, anything you need. You're gonna need a little waterproof field book to write this stuff in. It has all kinds of conversions and things on it. Highly recommended. Everybody in the military knows about these. Ride in rain, all-weather, tactical notebook. I have some more cordage. This one is a Titan Survivor cord, which I talk about at length in other areas, and I'll speak about it again right here because it's not 550 cord, it's actually 620 cord, which means it's rated to hold 620 pounds. But the other thing that's cool about it is it has 25-pound fishing line inside of it. It has copper wire, and it has some wax jute for starting fires, so if you didn't have any dry tinder, you could use that. But the important thing to me is the copper wire, and I'll get into that in a moment when I talk a little bit more about communications equipment. You also have your fire striker. This is just a little bracelet, you can wear. So I have more of this in other spots inside the bag as well, but this is all something that would be in your emergency survival kit. The other thing this is what I recommended earlier with the chem light, so you can adjust it. Compasses. Now, when I was in the Navy, we used the excellent compass, Silver Ranger. Okay, I haven't found another compass that I really like after using this. A lot of the compasses I get, they don't have the right scales for what I need. This one will cover the scales for the maps that I showed you earlier from Nat Geo. It'll also cover the scales for this, for the emergency survival chart, and the intermediate scale, 1 to 25,000 maps, and 1 to 24,000 maps. It also has those scales on here as well. So I just don't know a better compass. I thought that maybe there were a couple others that were really American-made, Brunton, but I'm not sure that they actually make the scales that I need. So, I don't know whether I could recommend them or not. I try not to leave anything out here, but I got a lot of little secret pockets. Another emergency blanket. Oh, my fire kit. Okay, so this is a fire kit that I sort of built. I talk about this in another video as well, so I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not going to take it out. But I have my tinder, I have my aluminum foil, a couple different sources of, for fire, in a waterproof kit, and very small and compact. These things are invaluable too. Trash bags, you can get them anywhere and they're really cheap, but man, they can be very, very useful for a lot of different things. Maybe if you killed an animal and you need to preserve the meat or something, you can wrap them up in a bag. It's an easy way to carry them. You can use it to keep dry if you didn't have these other things that I talk about. It's just, the uses are, so many uses for the value you get for this, and I recommend having at least a few of these stashed wherever. I actually have some more little water purification tablets. So same thing for that 32-ounce bottle. 2 of these tablets purify that water. You could drink this water as it is, but what if an animal died right up the creek? There's a lot of little microorganisms and things like that that could be in the water, and I wouldn't drink it anyway right here, being so close to the city. Not without purifying it first. Okay, so that's the extent of the survival kit. Now, as I get a little deeper down into the bag, your power source. How are you going to recharge your cell phone? How are you going to recharge your GPS if you have one, or your power bank, or whatever the heck it is? Well, this is an excellent option to have. I have tried it out a couple times. You've got a couple USB ports right there that plug in, and I can attach this to the outside of my bag. It's got these little carabiners, and you just clip that to the back side of your bag. If you're out walking around during the day, or if you're sheltering or hiding or whatever you want to call it during the day, this would be something you could set out to, on a rock like that, and get some energy, some juice for your electronics. There are also some other excellent pieces of gear that I don't have with me, but K-Tor hand crank is a really good one, and Forever charger or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. Forever battery. They're another excellent little hand crank thing you could use. Down to the last little bits. Now here's some more of my electronic stuff. Excellent thing to have. I would have it waterproofed. This one's not really waterproof, so this is a really good, a little bit higher end one. It was, I think it cost me $60 or something like that. All your electronics cordage and things like that you might need. There's also an excellent USB cord that will plug into the external battery for the ham radio, so you can actually use that solar device to charge your ham radio as well. Final thing I'm going to talk about, gotta have these part of your little your hygiene kit, whatever you want to call it. Now, the other thing here is the cord that I was going to talk about, the survivor cord, the copper wire, all the rest. So this could be attached to the battery, or excuse me, to the antenna of the radio that I was talking about, the ham radio, and you could launch this up into a tree 30 feet and pull this wire up there, because the copper wire is inside it. It's already an antenna. And you attach it to that antenna. Now you got a 30-foot antenna instead of a 42-inch antenna. So you can imagine how that would extend your range. Now another food option, I have one of these in there. I haven't tried these yet, but I'm probably going to try this one. You can get these, pack of 12 of these, and they give you a lot of calories as well. And I'll leave a note there somewhere on the side, either down there or over there or something. But in my opinion, I just don't know how you can beat this. So, okay, I think that just about talks about everything. I hope I'm not forgetting anything, but I am forgetting one thing. A very important thing, actually. The final department. So I started to talk about the water. Okay, here it is. This is an 80 ounce water bladder. I think this may be made by Source, I believe, is the company, Israeli company. But what I would do with this is, all you have to do is cut this neoprene, cut the plastic underneath, and you plug in your little Sawyer Mini right in to each side, and now you got 20,000 gallons filtered. So all you have to do is, you can fill up with your water bottle, and, take one of these, fill up the creek, and fill up your bag. It doesn't matter, it's going to go through this filter. So, but then you can keep a couple of these extra bottles of water, in the pack. And then when this gets depleted, because technically this is about a one-day supply. This is about 5 bottles of water, the typical 16-ounce bottles. So when you get 5 of these, that's about what you would want. They say you want 8 glasses of water. Okay, so that's actually 4 of these bottles. Okay, if you're talking about you're going to be moving, you're going to have a pack on, you're going to be outside in the heat or whatever, probably going to need a lot more water than that. So I just can't specify enough. It's important. I wouldn't throw these away. If you really don't have to, you can scrunch them down to they're really really small by crushing them, letting the air out of them, and use them to carry. But if you find a water source like this, you better believe you're going to fill up. Carry as much water as you can, because you don't know the next time you're going to see it. Now, if you're on a route where you're going to be along the river the whole time, that's cool. Just keep in mind, if you're traveling along a river the whole time, you're probably going to be a lot of other people and activity and stuff at the rivers as well. So as long as you know what you're doing and you're making a good plan, that's the best you can do, is just plan ahead and prepare and gear up. So I don't know that there's anything else I can talk about on here. I haven't really figured out all this YouTube like and share and all that stuff, but I think I'm gonna have to figure that out. So if there is a like and share button, please do that. If not, we'll have to wait till the next video or something. But I think that's all I got right now. I hope it was informative, and I hope this kind of explains what could be in a 72-hour pack. Like I said, this one's probably just 30 liters or so. 50, 60 liters is not unheard of. So you could definitely have a bag that's a lot bigger than this if you needed to carry more water or more food. It's not gonna be super comfortable, but figure out what works for you. If you want to get a better bag, then do that. If you want to be able to make it out there longer than 72 hours, then yeah, you probably want a bigger bag and some more gear. But the other important thing to remember is you have to train with it. You have to go out and do it a couple times. Go out in the woods with your family, make it a camping trip, or try out all your gear. Just something fun with it. Maybe join a geocache club or something like that, where learn how to use GPS and learn how to use maps. I recommend, there's a lot of recommendations on this ESC that tells you things like that you could do. You could join paintball clubs or airsoft clubs, or put your kids in the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or one of the other alternatives. So don't just get all the gear and think that you're going to be fine because you have really good gear. To use a video game analogy, all you might be is a supply drop in somebody else's playing field. If you don't have a plan, you're just going to go out in the woods and you don't know where the hell you're going. You might make it 72 hours, but what are you going to do after that? So you better have a plan to where you're going to go. That's another reason why I would also recommend trying to find a community of like-minded people that are going to share your values and your ideas, and want to go back to our roots and save this country. So, fellow patriots, I hope this was informative, and I'll continue to make more videos, and I'll elaborate more on these different sections for you at a later date. All right, take care. So I was just packing up and getting ready to go, and I realized that I forgot this little compartment. The sunglass case. This is another invaluable tool. I would probably keep this in the emergency survival kit because it has all the tools you need. When I was in the military, we all carried one of these. I recommend it. Every man should have one of these, in my opinion. Very important, can opener. You find some cans, very important thing. You have a lot of other devices. This is a saw that you can use to build a shelter as well. A little camp saw, this definitely will work for a little while. Pliers have a lot of uses. The list goes on and on. All is very important for fixing gear. If you have any problems, you can punch through that gear. If I had a problem with my boots, I need to sew them up. This thing would come in handy. Screwdrivers, files, another blade, you name it. Another excellent piece of gear that definitely should be in your kit. And I forgot to mention that, so I wanted to talk about it one more time. Okay, that's all I got.